and the globe entirely. Now, this morning, we are focusing on something very important, which is justice or reproductive justice. Have you ever heard of that? Well, in case someone told you that we are going to be looking at accelerating action in reproductive justice. That may sound something complicated, but don't mind. I have a guest with me in studios, and that is Shadia Namanda. Yes, the legal officer, Women Pro Bono Initiative. Now, she's with me here, and of course, we are in the Women's Month. Remember Saturday, that was 8th? Uganda joined the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day, where we're looking at the achievements in the struggle to eliminate all forms of injustice against women, how far we've come, where we have reached, and how do we plan to move forward better. And I remember very well, the theme was accelerating gender equality. Good morning, Shadia, and welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Robert, and good morning. Briefly, my name is Shadia Namanda, a legal officer from the Women's Pro Bono Initiative. And the Women's Pro Bono Initiative is a non-profit legal and advocacy organization promoting access to justice for women and girls in Uganda. So we use tools like we utilize legal research, providing legal aid and knowledge sharing in the promotion of the rights of women and girls in Uganda. Yes.
Now, rightly said, when we talk about promotion of rights for women and girls in Uganda, we know you just celebrated International Women's Day, and the theme was accelerating gender equality. Now, let's begin with gender equality, or the theme.
Yes.
And I know this is going to run until next year when we are celebrating the same.
Yeah.
This is the theme you are going to run through the whole of this year. When we talk about accelerating gender equality, briefly let's look at this. How far have we traveled, and the relevance of a theme like that for this year?
So this year's theme, which is accelerating action, it's focusing on action that can be undertaken to unlock equal rights, power and opportunities for all women and girls, and a feminist future where we are living in a world free from discrimination and people living without dignity, and we are looking at equality. So maybe something about this year is that we are marking 30 years since the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action was passed, and this was one of the most progressive and widely endorsed blueprint for women's and girls' rights worldwide. And this transformed the women's rights agendas in terms of legal protection, access to services, youth engagement, and changing social norms. So that, like I said, this declaration was passed in 1995. So that's 30 years from then, and in this year we are going to track progress and see how far the provisions in this declaration have been enforced. Something to note is that the World Economic Forum noted that at the current rate of progress, it's going to take us until 21,058 the year, and that's like 5 generations from now. So it's going to take us until that year to reach full gender parity at the current rate of progress. And that explains this year's theme, which is accelerating action, because we need to have increased momentum and urgency in addressing the systemic barriers and biases that women face.
Now, let's get this more clear. You know, many women may understand when you talk about accelerating action for gender equality, but to the men out there and maybe fellow Ugandans, some so entrenched in religion, others so entrenched in culture, what is this that you're advocating for? Because most of the times when you bring the word equality, it may not mean much to some that usually, I would give an example just to throw more light for our viewer. Remember when I was young, this word Kano came up. You must be from the central region. I remember one time the biggest fight I ever witnessed when I was growing up is a woman who did not cook on Women's Day because she said it was their day. Now the husband wasn't well informed. And he said, no, I can't come home and there is no food. I was like, it is our day. And that entire word, now I don't want to translate this accelerating action for gender equality. But what is that? Speak to the mind of someone who does not click very well what we are advocating for.
Yes. So first, if I'm to address equality, first of all, the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda guarantees equality. It provides for the equality of women and men and everyone, regardless of gender or sex or race or origin or wherever they come from. So basically equality, we are looking at equality in opportunities. We are looking at equality in power. We are looking at equality in all aspects of life. I don't know if that makes sense. Offering
equal platforms.
Yes, equal platforms. But then that would also bring in the issue of equity. And when you're looking at equity, you're taking into consideration the different situations that we go through. You know, you can offer an equal platform. Let me use a literal example. If I'm short and you're taller than me, and maybe we need to get a mango from the mango tree, so if you give us an equal platform, equal grounding, you will be able to get that mango, unlike me who is short.
Yes.
But if we are looking at equity, we are taking into consideration that I'm shorter, so it needs to be a bit raised for us to be able to achieve the same goal.
What a lovely and good example. I've loved that. Because one would say, yes, you've all gone to the mango tree, so get mangoes, we've given you the same platform. But whereas someone is short, just like I am, and I'll need something to step on to get to that level.
Yes.
So now we are looking at you also, not only the same platform, but giving me enablers.
Exactly.
To be able to achieve.
Yes.
Okay.
So we also look into aspects of equity so that we are all able to achieve the same opportunities. Now relating this to more real life experiences, we have from our experiences that women have been disproportionately affected, and like you earlier highlighted, we are affected by many issues. For example, the cultural and societal barriers. There is a lot that is expected from a woman that is not expected in a man. And some of these are actually putting us behind and limiting us in accessing certain opportunities. For example, education or accessing services, maternal health care, and when you're looking at menstruations. So there are different aspects that affect us as women. Yes.
Now this brings me to actually today's topic that we are looking at, which is reproductive justice, accelerating action in reproductive justice. Let's also look at this. When you talk about reproductive justice, what is reproductive justice?
So reproductive justice, we are looking at people or making informed decisions. For example, making informed decisions about a woman's body. I'm going to specifically look at women. So making informed decisions about women's bodies and their ability maybe to have children, you know, making such choices, anything that is affecting me and arising from my reproductive system. As a woman, I should be able to make informed decisions about that. And also implies or looks at addressing systemic barriers and promoting policies that support reproductive rights and access to quality and healthcare services.
Now, when we talk about our lovely country, Uganda, issues of reproductive justice, how are we standing?
As a country, I think our progress is quite slow. I cannot say that there isn't any progress, but there is some progress, just that we are lagging behind, because most of the things that are affecting us or our reproductive systems and healthcare services, these are not things that have just started this morning. These are things that have been going on for centuries and centuries, because our man's body did not start functioning just yesterday. So as a country, I'm going to first look at the aspects of laws, where we have some laws that have been passed to promote or to uphold reproductive justice. And the first one that I'll look at is the marriage bill, which was 1 minute.
Yes, when you talk about the marriage bill, it has come on the floor of Parliament.
Yes.
Sometimes it has been shelved, and then it comes, then it is shelved. Now we have one in the offing, and consultations for Central Region were done. There is that that the woman member of Parliament for Tororo District, Sarah Opendi, under Private Members Bill came up with, and actually we have seen this rock media waves in different aspects. When we talk about cohabitation, it has been there. We talk about if we can have polygamy in a Christian marriage. We talk about time where people should cohabit. Then there's so much there. But actually now we want to look at that in aspect of productive justice. Yes.
So when we look at the marriage bill, it has been a commendable step in in amending family law. Most of the laws that we've been using in family laws are quite archaic, and these stem back from the pre-colonial period. And adulthood, we had children getting married at 16 and 12. These are the customary marriages. So this bill makes it clear and aligns with our constitution that the adult age is 18, and a person cannot get married until they are 18.
18 years, yes.
Then the other thing that it does, it provides for different marital rights, and of course the recognized marriages. Then it also provides for property rights. We usually have so many issues when it comes to property rights in marriages. So the marriage bill throws more light on that and makes them clear. Then the other thing, when we are looking at our reproductive justice, it does outlaw, of course, like I mentioned earlier, child marriages. A person who's not yet 18, I mean, you cannot take them into marriage. Their bodies are not yet ready, mentally and physically, to carry a child. So it also prohibits the return of gifts, including a bride price. That's something that had initially come up in some of our case laws. That was Mifumi. I don't know if you know about it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a prominent case addressing a return of bride price. Yeah. So then it also criminalizes, of course, child marriages. Now it also criminalizes the person who is overseeing the marriage and those who are attending. So in case you're ever invited to attend such a marriage and you get to know that, oh, this child is below 18, you should never attend, because if you do so, that's a crime punishable for not more than 3 years. Yeah.
That is a very good step in the right direction, because child marriages, recently I was watching some page on TikTok, that is social media. A friend posted it and said, hey Robert, you need to trust yourself in this. And I was seeing this young girl, people are dancing, celebrating a marriage of a girl below the years of 18. And I was wondering, somewhere in Busoga there. So this speaks much, because we believe her body is not yet ready. So it is an injustice.
Yes.
It is a reproductive injustice to her.
Yes.
So let's continue looking at more of the laws and what they say.
Then the other law, we are going to look at the Sexual Offences Bill, which was tabled by Parliament. We are still waiting for it to be passed, though it also has its challenges, like I will address later. So when you're looking at the Sexual Offences Bill, I'd like to make reference to the 2024 annual police report. So in the police report, it exposed the harsh reality of gender-based violence in Uganda. And according to the statistics, definitely women and girls were affected more than the men. So it reported that out of the 1,667 cases, rape cases reported, and cases on aggravated defilement, those were 4,072, and out of those, 3,980 were girls. So just in case people do not know, even boys can be defiled. But the total number that was reported, a majority were the girls. Then it also reported 8,002 girls that suffered domestic violence out of 8,240 cases that were reported. So clearly, when you look at that, it shows you the status or the standing of the country as a whole. So, you know, usually we get complaints of why do you not help men, why are you leaving the men behind? But I think if people actually take some time off to go through these statistics, they will see why we mainly focus
women are
on
more
the
vulnerable.
girls. Yes.
Than the men.
Yeah.
Well, the laws are in place. The question is, are people aware of these laws? When I move around in some of these communities, when I listen to some religious teachings, when I listen to some cultural teachings, I find either a lot of ignorance for people to understand that we have these laws and these laws must work. One time I was speaking to some friend of mine, he's fasting, that explains his religion now, and he told me, "Hey, Robert, our mothers were married at 15, and we here." Told me, no, by the time God says that this woman is now ready, who am I, a human being, to say she's not? Because she has begun her menstrual cycle. So who am I, a human being, to say not? Culturally, you'd hear those tell you, marry off that girl before she gets spoiled. What do they mean by getting spoiled? Before she conceives and you're not getting dowry. The next thing you know, the mother tells you she's vomiting and she's pregnant. So much as you are activists, you're pushing for accelerating action in reproductive justice. Levels of awareness, what have you discovered? So
you see, sometimes people are actually aware, you know, like the example of your friend you've mentioned. He knows that the law provides it's not until a girl is 18, but then he chooses to ignore that and stick to the cultural aspects of if my mother got married at 15, why can't I marry my daughter off at 15? So we have such problems. We have the societal norms and cultural barriers where people deliberately choose to ignore the actual reality of life and what the law provides for. And then, of course, we have those who are ignorant about it, so we usually create sensitization sessions, but this is not enough. We need more to change people's mindsets. Because someone has the thing of if someone will tell you that I got married or I gave birth at 15, so usually I would like to call it that they usually live in denial because they would not know or they are not awake to the challenges they faced. Just because they went through some of them, they expect their daughters to still go through the same, which is not right. Yeah.
Now that brings me to the challenges, to be because we already are looking at some of them, but I need you to give us the outstanding challenges, because there could be many, but what are those major barriers you feel towards achieving or accelerating reproductive justice in our country?
So once again, we have the laws, much as to a smaller extent, I wouldn't even call it a larger extent. So to a smaller extent, they've been progressive, but then to a larger extent, they've been regressive. So I would like to start with the laws that are addressing period poverty. So I think in around, was it 2021, 2022, around there, when the Ministry of Health passed a circular regulating menstruation, menstrual hygiene and management for girls in schools. So, and this circular provided for provisions of requiring that there is access to clean water at schools. We have changing rooms for girls to be able to change, you know, maintaining hygiene.
Yes.
Provision of sanitary towels, educating them about the menstrual hygiene and management. And this does not exclude the boys. The sensitization and education applies to the boys too. So recently in the Auditor General's report, it was reported that the government has failed Ugandans when it comes to menstrual hygiene and management. And the statistics showed that 64% of the learners that were interviewed, that's 138 out of the 216 that were interviewed. It showed that they had been absent from school because of menstruation. Yes. Which is something that is not right, because now the effect of this is, remember, we are addressing the inequalities. As a girl, I'm supposed to have the same education as a boy. Yes. But if I'm forced to miss school because of something I cannot control.
Almost every month.
Every month.
Every month you're missing 1 or 2 days.
No, it's not 1 to 2 days. That's a week. So imagine a girl has to miss a week in every month. That would be a full month, because a school term has 3 to 4 months. So that's like a month of not studying because of something that they cannot control. And that's why we said the government has failed us, because this is something that has been going on. You're born, and then when you clock the age of 13 or 12, you start. But it's, when you look at the statistics, our government is prioritizing other things. So we still have a big issue on that. Then we also look at the taxes. Much as some people can say that sanitary towels are cheap, you know, when there are some that cost Uganda shillings 2,500, but we have people who are living beyond the poverty line. They cannot get that 2,500 shillings to buy a packet of sanitary towels when they have a family to feed. So I don't know if it makes sense.
So many single mothers out there, even those in families, the husbands can't raise that money. Now, what about for the school-going children? How many of these parents can say, here's a pack for you, here's a pack for you, in case I have 3, 4 daughters, and they're all in that age? So how do we handle? So you're talking about the taxation. Is it the taxation that is making the cost high?
So we have the taxes, of course, but then we also have, we want to have sanitary towels provided at a free cost. You know, let me give you an example of condoms. Yeah, you've seen them being distributed
everywhere. There is no scarcity.
They are like flowers.
There is no scarcity.
You know, you're out there minding your business, there is a condom laying down there. You go to the washrooms, there are condoms, and yet a person can choose to not have sex, but I have no control over my menstruation. This is something biological. It has to happen. It's a must unless I'm pregnant or if I'm not healthy. So the government, so we look at the budgets that the Ministry of Education and Sports, because they're the ones handling this. So they get Uganda shilling 72 trillion. And the budget that is assigned to such aspects of health, it's only 42 billion, which is 0.05%. But even then, they have failed to allocate resources to handle such. So that brings me to the issue of the, you know, like the CSOs have been covering most of, but by CSOs I mean civil society organizations. Yes, so they've been covering some of these gaps, providing for the girls, you know, advocating for clean water. We've seen what USAID has been doing. It was more than the PEPFAR, yeah? They also, you know, there were so many, growing up we used to see so many boreholes that were constructed by USAID. So now with the aid that has been frozen, this is the 90-day freeze by Trump, so CSOs are also going to suffer. They can no longer try to fill this gap. And now even the government has ignored these girls. So
because at least if they can't have the sanitary towels, if the water is available, it could somehow, not the solution, but if even the water is not available.
Well, I think the two work hand in hand, because you need to have a sanitary towel and you also need to clean yourself. So if the sanitary towels are not available, some people are saying that maybe these girls should use reusable sanitaries. But then for you to reuse it, you also need access to clean water to clean it. So these girls are definitely disproportionately affected compared to their male counterparts. So yeah, that's like the biggest thing. Then the other challenge that is affecting the girls, when you look at our reproductive justice, we are looking at bodily autonomy. Now, when key to reproductive justice is addressing bodily autonomy, and this is my power, or the power basically that I have to make decisions about my health, anything concerning my body. Unfortunately, we are seeing policy makers, we are seeing the government, our legislators, we are seeing religious leaders make decisions for my body. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm
trying to sink deeper into that. How are they making decisions for your body?
So we are going to look at aspects. These are a bit controversial to some, but this is the reality. We are going to look at aspects of abortion and also contraceptives. So our laws criminalize abortion.
Yes.
And actually they restrict abortion to
they restrict on health purposes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or when a person has been raped and health purposes. That's when it has been recommended by a medical practitioner. But statistics, or there are studies that I've gone through, which I cannot cite right now, I don't know how I forgot to get them, but that they show that it's mainly women that are actually married that procure abortions. Yes, shocking as it may be. You see,
why would a married woman abort on earth?
You see, now that's the problem that we are having. So
you're married, I mean.
People do not have access to contraceptives. And then this is me if I've just given birth. And there are many issues that married women face that people refuse to believe or take cognitive of. For example, marital rape. We've had cases of women that are raped when she has just given birth.
Oh, yes.
So she has a baby who is like, what, 1 month, and then she becomes pregnant. So it's going to be too much for her.
Definitely.
So by all means, she has to do what? To procure an abortion. But then our government chooses to deny all those experiences. But even then, in case I've become pregnant, I need to have the power over my body to decide whether to keep this child or not. Yes. Yes, we are not doing the role of God here.
You're now putting me in a tight corner.
Yes.
And of course, like you earlier said, this may be controversial.
Yes.
On the religious side, because we believe as long as the Lord has gifted you with the fruit of love, then abortion can never be something to, it is a child, it has come, it is there, so you have no right as a human being to think of aborting this child. But you believe women should be left to make decisions. We call it on their body autonomy. It's
called body autonomy. I have the power over my body. I need to decide when to have children and whether to have children actually or not. There are so many women that are shunned just because they've chosen not to have children.
Yes.
Even without abortion. So normally you find someone like, oh, you're 30, you don't have a child, are you okay? Like, this is something I've decided. You know, children actually require a lot of work. And research actually shows it that for every child that is given birth to, those are 2 years lost on a woman's life in all aspects, in other aspects of them progressing in their lives.
For every child a woman gives birth to?
Yes, those are 2 years lost. Because they have to be dedicated to this child. So we have people that have different dreams. You know, there are those who want to, you know, be housewives, or even they want to dedicate their life to their children. And then there are those who are career oriented and they want to focus on their careers. And then there are those that, you know, just working on different things. So if you're put in a spot whereby you've given birth to this child and the child is not planned, these are 2 years of your life dedicated to that child, which is not a bad thing. But like I said, women need to have the power to choose, because whatever effects that are suffered, it's them and not you, the man.
Personally, I'm an advocate, and I've said this over and over on this show, that I'm an advocate of children by choice, not by chance. And I'll stand on that, because when I move on the streets of Kampala and I see these street children, one thing that comes to my mind, why were they born? Of course, God had a plan for everyone. I'm not God. He knew them before they were born. But I'm like, instead of giving birth to this child, and this child is coming in this world to suffer, you know, I may sound controversial to say, why have this child? If you've gotten me, you've gotten it. So
that brings you back to the issue you earlier mentioned, that, oh, abortion and all. So you see, if this child was not planned, you see the next thing would be. But
as I advocate for my children by choice, not chance, I advocate for contraceptives.
Yeah, so you
not that this child you didn't use, but also sometimes I'm told contraceptives can let you down. I'm told. I have no scientific research on that, but someone one time told me even the condoms can let you down, it can burst. Even these emergency contraceptives, and actually this person told me those have betrayed many.
They do.
That they have betrayed many, and someone ends up conceiving, yet they had no plan whatsoever to have that child. Now, if you had no plan to have that child, what is plan B?
So now you see the other funny thing is that our government provide, or they recognize post-abortion care. So who are you recognizing post-abortion care? You know, it comes in case someone has suffered, they've had very bad consequences to their health from this abortion. But then normally these come out of unsafe abortions, because if the abortion has been criminalized, I do not get that chance to access safe health services. I'm going to do it behind closed doors. So we've seen people who have shared scenarios that they usually go to traditional herbalists, they give them some herbs to take.
Because no government hospital can conduct
that. And then it does not go well. We've seen in schools, there are girls that are using hangers. Yeah, exactly. It sounds awful. So, but then our government deliberately refuses to provide or to decriminalize abortion and provide abortion services, but then they provide for the post-abortion care, which wouldn't ideally be needed if these girls could access, or the women could access safe abortion services.
So what are we advocating for here? Are we saying that we should legalize abortion and remove the restrictions we have?
We will remove that. It's not even about legalizing. We shouldn't have laws restricting abortions. Like I said, this is a bodily autonomy. It's me to decide whether to keep this baby or not, whether to have that baby or not. So we need to decriminalize abortion. We need to remove the restrictions. We can only have guidelines. You know, in 2022, the government had actually passed the standards on 1 minute. Standards and guidelines for addressing maternal morbidity and mortality. And these were going to be a very big step towards addressing some of the issues that are currently being faced as a result of abortions. But then again, these were, what's the word? These, the government halted then. So we've had cases instituted against government, holding them liable for not taking action, for not passing them. Because now we don't know what fate we suffer.
Well, I must go for a very short break, and when I return, we are still looking at the challenges regarding accelerating, that is reproductive justice. We're going to accelerate action as far as reproductive justice is concerned. I'll go for a very short break. I still have Shadia here with me in studios. Very interesting, I must say, more so when we come to the women having authority over their body. Let's return.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Was brought to you by
just take a polite loan of 200k to stock my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hustle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Seems to me now that the dreams we had before are all dead, nothing more.
The holiday table is set. Steam rises from freshly prepared dishes. Family photos line the walls, but one chair remains empty. An empty chair that wasn't supposed to be empty today. All because someone thought arriving 5 minutes earlier was worth speeding through that last corner. No destination. This festive season, thousands of chairs across our country should not remain empty. Chairs that hold our fathers, mothers, children, friends. Is your rush worth leaving an empty chair at someone's table? Drive within speed limits, because every empty chair tells a story of loss that could have been prevented. Speed kills. Drive to arrive alive. Tofia Kukubo. This message is brought to you by Uganda Broadcasting Corporation in partnership with Uganda Professional Drivers Network, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, and Maritime Cargo.
Was brought to you by
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got him? Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Keeping it with us on UBC TV, it is the Extra. I'm Robert Cherapo Nyonyintono. And with me, I have a very interesting lady, and that is Shadia, with whom we are discussing issues regarding accelerating action when it comes to reproductive justice. Now, earlier on, we defined what reproductive justice is, and we are looking at the challenges that are hindering us achieving this in our country, despite a few steps that we have made. Ariel alone, she was talking about the legal framework, that yes, we have gotten somewhere. We have the laws in this country that somehow try so very much. But also she was talking about some obstruction, like when it comes to a woman making the right decisions regarding her body, where most of the times the women feel that religiously, traditionally or customary, we've come up with laws that do not give them the power to decide on what to do with their body. We're still looking at some of the challenges.
So we're still looking at the aspect of autonomy. you know, it's not limited to whether to have a child or not, anything concerning me. So now that brings me to the issue of contraception. Now when you're looking at autonomy, a person should be able to, must have information, adequate information in regards to all these aspects. Now contraceptives, you know, our bodies react differently. So as a woman, I'm entitled to access to information on how the different contraceptives work and the effects that they could be having. Then it also comes down to the sanitary or the menstrual hygiene and management. We have so many different products that can be used during the menstruation cycle. But unfortunately, we have children that do not have information on how some of these work. Of course, we have the sanitary towels, we have the reusable pads, we have tampons, we have menstrual cups. I don't know if you know the menstrual cups.
I do.
Yes, so for me to be able to decide what product I'm going to use, I should be able to have information, or I should know how the different products work. Then we also have challenges with some of the marginalized groups, for example, the autistic girls. So this is someone who can barely do anything on their own. And the people that work with them, or the ones that provide for them, they usually have ways of letting them know. But these are people who are very limited in resources. So providing such information may seem to be a bit hard. So such a girl will be left in a position whereby they cannot decide for themselves what products they would want to use. So moving on to the next.
Even before we leave that, decision on products to use also comes with availability.
Yes.
Now we are talking of scarcity. Now how do you make decisions when you don't have options? And even what you have, that's for the menstruation of pads and all that.
Yes.
But when you also go to family planning, contraceptives, many women don't have enough information, like you said.
Yes.
And they can't make choices. It is, what is your wife using? What is your neighbor using? What is your big sister using? You go on that. That's why we've had so many now talk against family planning, because they will tell you, I had these effects, I had these effects. And then also sometimes maybe the wrong stories or wrong information comes out. So-and-so's wife died because of a coil,
Yes.
this and that. So as you people pushing for acceleration of reproductive justice, how are you trying to create this awareness? You go to hospital, you see a young lady comes at a pharmacy, Jaga work about family planning. She's given. Today, we have a #1 threat amongst the youth. I think these are the emergency contraceptives. You see? A girl just comes on a border to a pharmacy, emergency contraceptive. She's handed one. 5,000, 15, 10, whatever that cost. She goes away. So the people that are giving are not sensitizing these people. But okay, at least some are available. But this information gap, how do we have a government policy that mandates these health workers to give the right information? What do we do?
Of course, health workers have the mandate to provide the right information. But now what we activists are pushing for is we need to have laws that regulate these more. Because now when you look at the laws that govern the health workers, I think, I don't know the exact word, but they have that fiduciary duty. You know, like any other service provider that has to a person they are working on. They have a duty to provide the right information. But we do not have laws that are going to regulate certain things, such as contraceptives, which are actually widely used, even though we choose to live in denial. So we need to have laws that are going to regulate that a person, before you sell to them contraceptives, you need to explain to them that this is how this works, so that I get to choose what I'm going to use. And still speaking to autonomy, my husband should not make that choice for me. I should not become a passive recipient of such information. I need to be an active participant of anything concerning my body. So my husband should not tell me that, oh, you should actually use this kind of contraceptives, or use this kind of pills. It should be me with the information that I've gathered. But like I said, our progress is still lagging because of such scenarios, and it's affecting the rights or equality of women.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, something that we should advocate for. Let them have the right information. Let them make their decisions. Please, let's continue.
Yes. So the other challenge that we are facing, we are looking at still the regressive laws. Now, the marriage bill, whereas I earlier commended it for the progress that it has done, this has been very slow. Like I earlier highlighted, the marriage laws are so archaic. They date back to the pre-colonial era. So the first marriage bill was tabled in 1964. And we are in 2025 and the same is still being discussed. So I think you see why we need
one
momentum.
time it comes, it is shelved. Remember when members of parliament, was it the 10th parliament, were even given 5 million to go and consult the public, but then I think that term also was marriage and divorce. Then now we have the marriage bill. It has had a lot of back and forth on the floor of parliament. Hope this time it sees the light of day. Honorable Sarah Pendi, hope you make history and sail through with this bill.
Yes, so we see that we have our parliament that instead of making laws that are actually going to benefit us and address the current affairs in society, social aspects, they are choosing to police women's bodies, you know, debating on, oh, a woman should not do this, a woman should do this.
How many times she should sleep with a man?
So they are ignoring things that are actually happening. So when you look at the marriage bill, some of its negative aspects is it criminalizes cohabiting.
Yes.
So instead of focusing on more important issues, they are rather bothered why I'm holding out as married. And this is someone, maybe we are living a good life, we probably have children, but now they have a very big problem with it. That I choose to live with someone and hold out as married when I'm not.
Yes.
So those are some of the issues we are having with the marriage bill. And the other thing that we have is it provides for sharing of liability or debts. You see, still, I'm going to use the example of women. Many women are in the dark on what their husbands do or what their spouses do. So normally it's upon when the man has died, they get to know that, oh, my husband did this, my partner had this, my partner had a child somewhere, you know. So now how am I supposed to know what kind of debts my husband has gotten? So now this marriage bill comes on to say that, well, if you're married to this person, you need to share liability of debts, which is something that is very unfair. Yeah, so among other things, of course, we also have a conversion of civil marriages from monogamous to polygamy. Like I said, the Constitution provides for equality of men and women. Now, we have a problem with polygamous marriages. You see, of course, the Islamic marriages have always been polygamous in nature, something we have no control over, but we have control over the civil marriages. If the Constitution guarantees equality, why am I being forced to have a co-wife? So the marriages should be entirely monogamous. So in case I'm not comfortable with the polygamous marriages by the Muslims, I can always go for the what? For the civil marriages. But now if we are having such provisions that are trying to change the monogamous marriages to the polygamous marriages.
Even I see more advocates for Christian polygamy.
Exactly.
That was a term I heard, and I'm like,
exactly.
Christian
And yet
polygamy?
we want equality. One man, one woman. If you're not comfortable with if you want the polygamous marriages to be all over, maybe we should adopt polyandry.
And what is that on hell that are you losing to earth?
That's I'm going to have more than one man too.
Please, can we go to another challenge?
Exactly. So that's what we are saying. If you're not comfortable with it, we need to we are having equality here.
Please, can we go to another challenge? Unless they're exhausted, then we can close the show. I have no problem with that.
So still, let me just finish my point. These are not my words. Our constitution, the supreme law of this country, provides for equality. And if we are looking for equality, we are looking for one man, one woman. Yes. So the other thing is we have the, I don't know if you've heard of the Human Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill of 2023. This one provides for surrogacy. You know, surrogacy is now something that is going on. And then this bill is lagging. There are so many people going through the most because we do not have laws that are regulating. The bill has not yet been assented to. But now the problem with this bill is that it has, first of all, it has a limited definition of what a family is. It looks at man, woman. So me as a single person who is not married, I cannot acquire the services of a surrogate. And yet, like I said earlier, I can choose to have children or not, when and how to have them. So we have such a gap on issues that are actually affecting our reproductive health and hence consequently affecting reproductive justice. And we know some prominent people in our country that did not carry their children, but then they have children. So, but
and they are married.
Yeah,
legally.
and they are married legally. But most of these get away with such problems because, I mean, they can afford such services. Nothing's going to come out. They can always fly out of their country, acquire services of a surrogate out of their country. But then comes to me, the Montua once, whatever I need, I have to do it from here.
Shadia, time is very much against us. Let me just have your concluding remarks, please.
So, to conclude this, if maybe a few demands we would like to make as civil society to the government. We need to guarantee domestic financing to ensure uninterrupted access to critical health services, including menstrual and maternal health services. We needn't cry over the freeze, because these are things that are provided for in our budget, and we can always prioritize. Then to the religious, cultural and other opinion leaders, we need them to cease fanning moral panic about sensitive issues, especially those that relate to women and other marginalized groups. The religious leaders, I mean, their aim is supposed to promote peace and unity and not sow disunity among people. To the media, academics and individual activists, yes. So there should be critical and independent thinkers. We need to advocate for some of these things more. We need to accelerate action. We need to have progress going on so that we achieve equality, equal opportunities and power for all women and girls in Uganda.
Well, thank you so much. It's really been a very interesting discussion looking at accelerating action in reproductive justice. Something that we must ensure as a country we move so fast and promote equality. The thing is, let's provide the platforms, but as we provide the platforms, let's also provide the enablers for equal competition, also that all of us, a simple example is if all children born access education, we know menstrual problem comes for the girl child. Let's provide what she needs, not to be out of school because of a biological or a natural cause called menstruation that we all know happens. Have a lovely day. May the good Lord bless you. See you tomorrow, God willing, for God and my country.